I'm a bird, mother. I'm a bird.
Veilguard is confirmed failure. Shills are not happy. So basically, the modern audience is having a full meltdown about the failure of Veilguard, and they're still pretty much coping about what exactly happened.
That Dragon Age the Veilguard is indeed a financial failure. And the modern audience and the Veilguard shills, they are very upset by this news, and they're making all kinds of cope posts and like rage posts about it. For example, this one that says, the reason why Veilguard didn't sell well. Unpopular opinion, but I think Veilguard's reputation just got damaged by the anti-woke crowd, even before the game came out. And we're going to read that full post in just a minute because it looks hilarious. But first, let's just get the news real quick. So yeah, this headline from ITC reads, Dragon Age the Veilguard failed in sales, only got 50% of EA's expectations.
I'm pretty sure they got less than 50%, considering that they said their expected sales numbers were around 10 million and they sold like maybe like slightly under 2 million. That's less than 50%. You don't really have to be a mathematician wizard to figure that one out.
Half of what they wanted, man. Terrible. The full write-up, which is only a few brief paragraphs, reads, Electronic Arts shares plummeted by 18%, the biggest drop since 2008. This huge drop came after the company warned that its financial results would be lower than expected due to poor sales results of two games. EA put most of the blame for the poor financial results on its football game EA Sports FC 2025, which was released in September and received mixed reviews. This month, the company introduced an update. Another culprit, though, is the role-playing game Dragon Age the Veilguard, which was released in October after a tumultuous development cycle. It reached 1.5 million players during the quarter, falling short of the company's expectations by about 50%. So yeah, this thing was a complete financial failure. How embarrassing, man. Pathetic sales. And then over...
Like, when you work on a project, or when you manage a project that had a historical failure right alongside Concord, wouldn't you reconsider, like, maybe the gaming industry is not exactly the thing for you?
Over on Steam, it's also getting worse for Veilguard because the recent review score has dropped all the way down to mixed at only 64%. And the all-time score barely hanging on to its mostly positive rating at 70%. At the rate things are going, that's likely to also fall below 70% and also become a mixed score. Furthermore, as we discussed a few days ago, the Veilguard director Corinne Bush also fled the company, leaving BioWare. I wonder if this timing is just coincidence. Like, Corinne Bush
I'm still convinced they probably told her either you leave yourself and save face, or we'll have to fire you.
Leaves BioWare, and then a few days later, this report comes out that Veilguard was such a financial flop. Of course, there's also a lot of speculation that Bush was kind of forced out over this whole disaster too. But make of all that speculation what you will. Alright, with that context, that takes us back over to the subreddit for Dragon Age the Veilguard, and this recent top post over there from only 17 hours ago that reads, the reason why Veilguard didn't sell well. Once again from the top, unpopular opinion, but I think Veilguard's reputation just got damaged by the anti-woke crowd even before the game came out. If you go to YouTube and search for Veilguard, you'll see vast majority of the content being created for this game is...
Do these people genuinely not understand how Google works and actually looking up the statistics and which people were actually interested in playing the game? Majority of people, they don't look at smaller YouTubers to learn about a game. They sometimes don't even have social media in general, but they look at the slop and go, yeah, I think I'm gonna dodge this one.
By drama queens who farm hate from every progressive media. Wow, that is some very politically obsessed phrasing right there. It's pretty telling that they don't even view Veilguard first and foremost as a video game. No, what they view it as first, like...
Because it's not. Quite often, these games are not even video games. They barely are held together by duct tape and glue.
First thing about it, oh, this is just progressive media. Their Veilguard videos are getting the most views and likes. When a potential customer sees this negative environment online, their first thought would be, maybe this game isn't worth buying. Yeah, so that's a good thing. Why would you want potential customers to waste their money on a game they probably won't even enjoy?
I actually seen the opposite. I only know people who bought this game as a joke or gifted this game as a joke just to play it and laugh at it.
Some like AAA HR in the room, modern audience slop. It's hilarious how they're phrasing this as if the critics of Veilguard are in the wrong, when in reality they're just making us all sound based. I especially love how they're trying to act like they're some like progressive individual, and yet the reality of what they're explaining here is that gamers have caused a massive corrupt corporation to lose a bunch of money. And they're upset at that. These sort of people always LARP as if they're like revolutionaries, but they're the biggest corpo defenders out there. They also never seem to realize that. It's a complete lack of self-awareness. And returning to the post.
Yeah, it's because it's so much easier to just blame other people than actually look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Those pesky gamers, yeah, disgusting. How gamers are so gross. Who would even play games? You have to be some absolute degenerate gooner to play games.
They say, people always say stuff like this doesn't affect sales much, but I really do think it's having an effect, especially in recent years, where hating on progressive games, movies, and TV shows has become such a popular thing to do. Like I basically said earlier, this is such a pathetic way of acting, where they see a corporation pandering to their political views, and then they're instantly compelled to eat that slop right up, no matter how—
No, the best part is when they're like, okay, we're gonna pander to these people who are the loudest on social media, don't play games or buy games. Then we'll say, fuck all the gamers, but the second our sales are looking really bad, we'll say, oh, these gamers are so disgusting, they don't want to buy our games after we tell them not to buy our game.
terrible the underlying media itself is. A top response to the OP reading, not an unpopular opinion on this sub, I don't think. More so on the main Dragon Age sub. Quick side note, because I know we interrupted this whole post thing quite a lot, but the OP did have that introduction where they said unpopular opinion, right? So that's what they're referring to there. Continuing. This person says, and I agree with you, the clicks culture on YouTube is a pervasive rot. Top response to that saying, main Dragon Age sub has been infected with bigots for months now. And then this response says, wish the mods there would remove any post that remotely has bigoted dog whistles. I can't even read this seriously, bro. Sometimes people in the comments ask why I read comments like this in the voice that I do, and I just read them the way I think they sound. Like, these people sound so whiny and weird to me, so it just naturally, that's the voice I kind of speak in when I read their comments. And then it doesn't help that I'm also just laughing a lot of the time when I read this stuff too. I mean, these people are ridiculous. So let me try this again. It says, wish the mods there would remove any post that remotely has bigoted dog whistles. The Avowed sub has done a good job with that, so the Dragon Age sub shouldn't have much trouble doing the same thing. Oh my gosh, man. Literally advocating for the other subs to be censored the same way the Veilguard sub is and the Avowed subreddit. And they're like applauding that. For the record, obviously what this person is referring to as a bigoted dog whistle is things as simple as like criticizing BioWare in this context or criticizing Tosh. Like, if you were to say you think Tosh is not written well, they would refer to you as an instant bigot. They would want you banned from the subreddits. You know how it is. And then there's this top post from today from
How did we reach the point that even when you say like, okay, the character design might be like not the best, even that would be considered bigoted? You look at someone sideways, you're a bigot. You accidentally bump someone, bigot.
You accidentally just sit the wrong way, hear someone in the back, bigot.
You took my slice of pizza, you're such a bigot.
100%, honey.
It's the fascism in you.
2 hours ago that says, addressing the anti-woke crowd. I wonder
Hi.
if they realize
Hi.
They're addressing us.
how much their indiscriminate negativity and dogpiling lessens their power as consumers. I love how one of the top posts blames the quote-unquote anti-woke.
No. They're addressing us. I want to read the whole thing. I wonder if they realize how much their indiscriminate negativity and dogpiling lessens their power as consumers. Veilguard could have launched with an all-white, all-straight male cast, and it would still have problems. Veilguard could replace its entire team with straight white men, and it would still have problems. Okay, but you're pretty much just proving our point that the people who worked on this pile of created a pile of you're actually proving our point.
Power as consumers. I love how one of the top posts blames the quote-unquote anti-woke crowd for ruining Veilguard's reputation and causing it low sales or whatever. And then this one's like, the anti-woke crowd are losing their power as consumers. Veilguard could have launched with an all-white, all-straight male cast and it would still have problems. Veilguard could replace its entire team with straight white men and it would still have problems. What a weird straw man. Like, who's even asking for that? People are simply critiquing the game for very valid reasons. For example, you can go over to Steam and take a look at the long list of negative reviews from people who did buy the game and didn't like it, where there's all sorts of different criticisms.
Also, let's be honest, if Tosh was a straight white dude, it still would have been beyond cringy every single scene with that person.
For example, this negative review in part says, "This game forces me to be the therapist of a cast of characters that are unlikable adult babies, who feel like they came from a Disney movie in the worst way possible." Or this one, for example, that says, "Romances are laughable in this game. BioWare was once so known for writing good RPG romances that I genuinely struggle to believe these romances are from the same company." Or this one that in part says, "I cannot in good conscience recommend this game to anyone, especially not Dragon Age or even BioWare fans. I'm shocked that the most prevalent criticism of Veilguard is not the abandonment of the world state import." And the reason I keep saying in part while I read these sections of these reviews is because these people wrote like mini essays. In other words, I'm reading a tiny fraction of these full negative reviews. And these people have extremely well thought out and very detailed explanations for why they don't like the game. This is a recurring theme on a
And it's the same thing if you look at the critiques and reviews on Dustborn. No one's just going in and just saying, oh, the people who made it are... No, they have actual critiques and borderline essays explaining why they didn't like the game, why no one should put themselves through the game, and why no one should waste their money.
lot of the negative reviews for Veilguard, and once again, you can find this all over on Steam. And one thing they're not all crying about is, oh, we just wanted the game to have all straight white male characters. So once again, the shills for this game are acting extremely politically brain-rotted and just really weird. Really weird. It doesn't end there either. Returning to the post, they go on to make 7 different lines of text, all prefaced with "the issue," where they go on to talk about a number of production issues that Veilguard faced internally at BioWare, much of this stuff being things that I discussed in my prior videos about Veilguard. And yet, even then, this person doesn't really get some of this stuff right. For example, they say, "The issue with Veilguard is that for the past decade, EA has attempted to maximize its profits by launching live service games that go against everything BioWare stands for as a company." The problem with this is that Veilguard itself was being created as a live service game at some point, but there's no evidence to suggest that that was entirely the doing of EA, as this post is trying to make it sound like. As a matter of fact, it was Gary McKay who took over as the BioWare GM who began to switch the production of Veilguard from live service back to single player. Therefore, the fact that it was a BioWare executive who was able to make the switch for Veilguard going from live service to single player also implies that when Veilguard was being developed as a live service game, that it was also BioWare's decision to do that. But here we have a Redditor trying to put all the blame on EA and act like BioWare is completely innocent and can do no wrong.
Of course. The only thing that's gonna happen is like them just lashing out at everyone except for BioWare. Because that's a healthy and completely normal attitude.
Another example of this is where they say, "The issue with Veilguard is that it wasn't given enough time, money, or resources to start over from scratch with the 3rd iteration of the game.
No
It was
way.
built on the bones of its previous iteration, an MMO, which isn't conducive to creating the sort of game we expect for the series, but the devs were told to make it work anyway." This is just objectively wrong information.
Yep.
While there was a period of time that Veilguard was being developed as a live service game, as we discussed briefly, it was simply going to have some level of multiplayer components, but not on the level of a full-scale MMO. Furthermore, the argument that BioWare didn't have enough money or resources is not a good argument, considering how many devs have done so much more with their games with so much less. Skipping down to the last section, where they also preface it with "the issue," they say, "The issue with Veilguard is that EA wasted 10 years with their heads up their behinds, no direction, and constantly moving goalposts that are impossible to achieve." You can see again how this person's trying to put all the blame on EA and acting like BioWare is completely innocent.
This is
But they go on to say,
lunacy.
"And now the issue with Veilguard and BioWare in general is that there are a host of angry, red-pilled netizens who don't even know
God.
what they should be angry about or what their demands should be. Instead, they point fingers at women and minorities who really don't and never had the sort of power that people think they do."
So the reality check, a lot of the people outside of the Western culture, they don't even give a shit about Dragon Age Veilguard existing.
Another pathetic strawman there. This whole post is full of objectively false information and strawman arguments, and of course tries to come off like some sort of champion for minorities as they overtly try and gaslight people. Buddy, you're really not doing much to help anyone when you're acting like some sort of deceptive liar, some sort of terminally online redditor. Their post ends by saying, "My advice to fans." Oh yeah, just what the fans needed. Advice from this weirdo. Great. Be intentional.
Time to take notes about the advice.
Oh boy.
He's gonna bring us to the promised land.
And be specific about the things you want in the next game. Don't just post angry ravings about DEI or woke things. Actually look at the game and identify what is missing that you want to be there.
This just proves like this person never actually clicked on any critique videos where the points are literally made what they should have done instead.
There next time. Advocate for less corporate interference. Demand better production. And always support the developers and writers who you see on social media, because the actual movers and shakers at huge gaming companies are people you'll never meet or hear about, but they're happy to let those public-facing devs and writers take the heat when things go south. Be aware of your power as a consumer and be specific about what you want. Oh my gosh, bro, this has to be one of the biggest bootlicker posts I've seen. Holy smokes. I wouldn't be surprised if this person was internally working at BioWare or something.
I think that's how it's coming off. Like either this person is like huffing cope to the maximum or working for BioWare. There's no way someone sane would post something like this.
At the same time, we've seen how plenty of these sort of modern audience types of people are just like this by default anyways. We'll take a look at the top response from just 1 hour ago, and then we're gonna wrap it up there because that's enough brain rot. But let's take a look at this. It says, as much as I appreciate the sentiment, I find this to be preaching to the choir a little bit. I think the people who are subscribed here have no illusion about why Veilguard has the shortcomings that it does. Another thing is we need to stop reasoning with the anti-woke people, because they don't ever start or enter a conversation with reason. Spreading misery online is their only chance at being seen or heard in their lives, so any engagement, even if you unequivocally dunk on them, is giving them what they want. They don't like Dragon Age, they don't like games, they don't like anything really. They only engage because they see someone enjoying.
Oh no, stop it, burn, oh my heart. I'm sorry that everyone has to find out this way that I don't like games.
Something, and they can't have that. It's truly ironic how this person talks about seeing things with objective reason, as they simultaneously act like a post with objectively false information is the truth, and then acting like people who criticize Dragon Age the Veilguard just don't like video games at all, and don't like anything. What an insane thing to say. And of course, equally as insane is their whole thing about like, these people have never been seen or heard in their lives. They just want to spread misery and can't let anyone enjoy anything. You know, all that really weird stuff they said. So yeah, that's definitely enough brain rot. I'm gonna leave it there. The point of all this is to say that based on today's news, it is now officially confirmed that Veilguard is a financial failure. And as you can see, the modern audience types are freaking out and becoming crazier than ever, like going full aggro rabid mode. So yeah, let me know what you think about.
Okay, great video. I always love hearing brain rot ramblings.